Welcome to LSC, it's sports time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Marseilles Brown, former Kecoughtan basketball player, and now has his own business with basketball. Welcome.
How you doing? How you doing, Mr. Hintz?
I'm glad to have you in here. We're just short notice, but it worked out real good.
Right.
But we'll talk about growing up, because you grew up with two older brothers that just, kind of set the level for you, but you started playing ball in the rec league. Mm-hmm. Who did you start playing with?
At about 7, I played with the YMCA.
Okay.
And, we played on those little goals. I was already used to playing in the backyard in the 10-foot goal with my brothers. But
they didn't catch any slack, did they?
No, they beat me up. I didn't beat either one of them till I was probably 18 years old, 17.
Okay.
And Morocco was a football player.
Yeah, I know.
But a tremendous competitor.
So in the YMCA, playing on 8-foot baskets.
Yeah, playing on short ones. Had a lot of fun. Learned how to compete.
Right. Was you always a ball handler? Was that something
always.
that you always?
I would always be out in the street dribbling and telling my mom to come and look at this move, and my brothers would encourage it because they couldn't do it. They loved it, so they really gassed me on that.
But this is something that did you see this on TV? How did you?
I loved Isaiah Thomas coming up.
Okay.
I idolized him, and I heard a story on an interview he did where he said he would go to the store and dribble a couple times in between each crack in the sidewalk. So I didn't do that. My mom wouldn't send me to the store, but I would just go out in the street and I would do moves all day long. I loved to do it,
right.
So it wasn't like I was.
And that's how you develop your skill. Basically it's just you by yourself, not against anybody else.
Yep, I loved it. Now when I would get with other people, I would try all of it out on them.
Right.
And people never really could get the ball from me, so it kind of stuck. And
I can remember when you played high school, you had a lot of confidence and you gotta have confidence when you play.
Right.
So you developed this young then in the rec league.
Right.
And then you went to middle school. You went to Sims.
Right.
And still played rec league. Were you still down at the Y? Or?
No, I started playing. I played every year between Northampton and Aberdeen with Miss McKnight. God rest her soul. I played for her. And at Aberdeen, and I played with Coach Marshall.
Okay.
At
Northampton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At Northampton, and between both of those.
All right. Then when you got into Sims as an 8th grader, then you go over and play JVs over at Kecoughtan.
Exactly.
And who was your coach and JV coach?
Coach Hall, Richard Hall.
Richard Hall, my man.
You coached him.
I coached Richard, and was very fortunate, and had him in here last week. Now, who were some of the teammates that you had? Can you remember?
JV, I remember playing with Brett Harper, Nasilo Abraham, same guys I played varsity with.
Okay.
Damon Bruce.
Because I know once you moved to varsity, then you're going to play with some of the guys that were on varsity when you were still on JV.
Right. And you talked about confidence. I came up on some guys that were really good, so I wasn't confident the entire time until I started to get in the gym with Milan. Like, we rode out a regiment, and David Macklin, them guys, Marcellus Harris, Aaron Brooks, Allen Iverson, Tony Rutland. Come on now.
So those are the guys you're going up against.
Yeah, and I'm playing with them in summers in open gym and stuff like that in AAU. So I was like, hold on, these guys are better. They're way better. So I gotta really hone my skills.
Right. Well, and then you're also in a unique situation is that your brother coached you for a couple of years.
Yes.
He coached with Coach Conrad, but that had to be a little different when you got home. Daddy wanted to know what went on, didn't he?
Right. No. Yeah. It was definitely, he was hardest on me and Brett, because Brett's like a brother to me. We came up together, but he was very, very. He expected a lot, and he didn't want to hear that he's playing because I'm the coach stuff.
Right.
So
who else did you have besides Brett was on your team? Because you had some good teammates.
I had some great teammates. They were all Americans.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, Brett and Nas. I was the third guy, but I was happy to have him. I'd say Damon Bruce. Well, when I first moved up, I played with Macy Brooks, 9th grade. Macy Brooks, Chucky Moore.
See, and Macy is a unique story. He's probably one of the few people that could have had a scholarship in baseball, football, and basketball.
Easily. He got drafted to play pro baseball out of high school.
Right.
He ended
and
up
then was
football.
Drafted by the Cowboys.
And played out there. I just left out there in Oswego, Illinois. I did a camp with Macy like 2 weeks ago.
So
awesome.
Some of these people that you not only play ball with, but made acquaintance with, now that you run into still in the business you're doing.
Oh, in the business world, yeah. Chucky Moore, We're thinking about doing something with he's coaching at Randolph-Macon, I believe.
Right.
Ed Huckabee, one of my coaches at Hampton University, is talking about me working out he has a prep school. Some of his guys, Macy owns his own business where he's doing speed training and strength and injury prevention. Got a building out there, building a new one. So it's funny how he just comes right around.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Coach Conrad.
Oh, man.
I mean, a lot of people see him on, because we show all the shows all the time, the sports, but he was a unique individual because people saw him on the football, coaching football, but boy, his love was basketball. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, he was a straight up and straight down guy. A lot like my father. He'd tell you exactly how it is.
Right.
And he expected, I mean, he would come out there and take charges. Like tell Nas Abraham to run him over and to show us how to take a charge. That type of guy. You know, he's always about defense, tough, hard-nosed stuff. But he loved us all like his own kids.
And I was told that he would have a real hard practice and he wouldn't run you.
Oh, yeah.
He'd say, that's it, going home.
Yeah. They were born out there sometimes. Yeah.
That's great. Then you get recruited.
Right.
And one of the places was JMU.
Yes.
And Lefty Drizel up there. I mean, wow, what a chance.
Yep. Lefty, he really wanted me, I thought. But he came to my house and his wife and his son. And we sat down in the living room, you know, I was sold on him. Macy already went there. Tony Jordan was going there. These are childhood friends of mine.
Right.
And I was leaning there, but I had Richmond coming at me, and I knew Jonathan was there, Jonathan Baker.
Yeah.
And it's not far from, I didn't want to go too far from home. I had Manhattan recruiting me, Coach Fran. He went on to coach at St. John's like a year after, so I'm glad I didn't go there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was about to commit, and Lefty calls and says they took another guy. So after that,
your position was gone.
It was gone, yeah.
But you still had Richmond, which was where you ended up with. You were going up with Jonathan Baker, so that had to be pretty good.
Oh, it was great. We ended up winning our league and actually having a big upset in the first round of NCAAs. It was just an awesome experience. I got to play for John Beilein and Bill Dooley. You know, Coach Beilein's at Michigan now.
Well, we got a call from Jonathan. Says, "How come I haven't been on your program?" I said, "Where are you?" Because I've had Dan and had his dad on.
All right, yeah.
I said, "Come on down. We'll
I can't wait to call him. I'm gonna call him.
Tell him, say, I beat you.
I beat you. Exactly.
So anyway, you up there for 2 years, and then you transferred to Hampton.
Yep.
Had to sit out almost a year, but only missed 4 games because I love the way they did it. They rescheduled their games so later on in the year. Yeah. But you weren't the only one to transfer in.
Yeah, it was like the perfect storm at Hampton University. I transferred in. A guy, LaShawn Howard, he was top 25 coming out of high school.
Right.
He actually went to Syracuse and ended up transferring in. And another guy, Muhammad Woney, transferred in from Clemson. And not to mention Michael Purvis, Cleveland Davis, these other guys that were certified Division I majors, or at least mid-majors, that we had on our team.
Well, okay, so now when you walk on there, you just take right over as point guard?
Yeah, it was actually, and this is what I'm trying to tell these kids now, this is where my passion comes from. Like we walk on the campus and they take 4 scholarships from the other kids. I mean, we're in there practicing with those guys. But that's how real it is out here.
They took 4 scholarships.
They took them and gave them to us. But I understand why. Because if Coach Murfeld didn't do that, they'll take his job. Win games or you can't feed your daughter.
Yeah.
It's that serious out here. It's business. So, and that's what I try to tell my kids.
And you know, you look from the other kid's perspective, you say, oh my God, I lost my scholarship. But he's saying, you know, this is my livelihood.
My daughter, it needs daycare, and she's hungry. So I got to choose between you and my daughter. I choose my daughter and my wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
talk a little bit about that experience then, because now you're 2 years at HU. I mean, you're at home.
Yeah.
So that had to be great.
It was awesome being home, and I shot a little bit too much. We probably could have got 2 championships, but I came home and we won 17 games. I think they won like 8 the year before. We won 17 my junior year, but we came up short in the conference championship or semis, I believe it was. But that next year, Coach Murfield said, Marseille, stop shooting. We're giving it to Tarvis every time. Tarvis Williams,
right.
Tremendous player. And that's what won us the championship. Okay. You know, we won 25 games.
So now you got to go to the NCAA tournament with 2 different teams.
Yes.
Talk about that, because that's, you know, a lot of people never get a chance to go to the big dance.
Right.
And here you get to go with 2 different teams.
Yeah. We were fortunate to come up on some good matchups in the first round and win. But we had really, really good teams. Right. It wasn't just me. We had great coaches.
Right.
We had great teams, and more importantly, we had great matchups. Like, I mean, I had to guard Jamal Tinsley, who was a pro, but everywhere else around the court, it was pretty even. You know,
right.
And same at Richmond. We weren't tremendously outsized.
So the matchup that you ended up with was really worked in your favor.
Yes, it did. And we were very confident.
And you never know that.
We were, yes. People don't know that. And we were a very confident group. Like, Coach had to stop us from saying, we're not afraid of them. Like, don't. Coach Beeline, I remember him saying, don't say that. They have the best backcourt in the country. I was like, me and Jonathan can take them.
You got to have that confidence, though. I mean, inside you got to know that this is it. Yeah, because I had Jerry Holmes in who ended up playing in the NFL, and I asked him when he knew, and he says when I stopped Kevin Swan. I'm not Kevin Swan, but the Swan, Lynn Swan.
Oh, Lynn Swan, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
He says he didn't catch a pass on me.
Right.
He says I knew then I could play at this level.
Right. So I found that out in the gyms around here. I'm guarding Allen Iverson.
Right.
Tony Rutland. So Jamal Tinsley, I mean,
I can
guard
right. This guy.
I don't know if I can guard you, but you can't guard me either.
So you graduate, you get your degree in political science.
Yes.
But you go to work for NBA
Entertainment.
Yeah.
And the television
enjoying
side.
that.
Yeah, it was nice. It was basketball. I was making highlight tapes for basketball, for the NBA basketball. I was working All-Star games, the draft. But it still wasn't my alley. I mean, but I didn't leave there. Turner actually bought them out, TNT, and they laid a bunch of us off.
Well, and they all moved to
Atlanta. Yeah, they left New Jersey, went there. So between then and a couple years back, I'm working every odd job. I'm a dock supervisor for a freight company. I'm doing everything, substitute teaching, anything.
Right.
But that
wasn't your passion, was it?
No.
So you decided to get back in basketball.
Yep.
Got on the phone.
Called Gannon up randomly one day. Said, look, man, because I actually had a vision from God. I was in a rough spot like 10 years ago. And I was praying a lot, and I saw myself training in front of large groups of people and telling them, just helping the kids not to make the same mistakes I did.
Right.
So I called Gannon. You know, I'm following him on YouTube, and Gannon says, look, you got to come work one of my camps. So
the camp was where?
It was 9 hours away in Florida. So I mean, I'm looking on his website.
You got a brand new car too, right?
Right. I got this beat up Ford Taurus in '94, maybe. My grandfather left me when he died, and I drove it. My mom and dad, you don't need to drive that up there. But I drove it. Well, first of all, I had to work out before, because this was like 2 to 3 months in advance that he told me that was the closest one I could make. The others were in like Texas and California. I couldn't make those.
Oh, wow.
So I worked out like two hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. And he sent me a bunch of his DVDs, learn how to do this stuff. And it is ferocious.
Right.
But
I've seen some of his. I got to see one of his first ones, Shake and Bake. The very first one he did.
It's awesome. Yeah. And I learned it, and I drove down there, and I wasn't getting paid. I just drove 9 hours on faith, and I turned out I did a great job at the camp. And Gannon offered me one of his top spots as a pro trainer. He has 3 different levels: pro, GM, and I forget the other one. But
and offers you the top spot.
Top spot, one of the top spots, yeah. So from there, business didn't just pop off, but I was with a good guy, and he's at the top of the training game. He's been my mentor for the past like 3 years, and he sent me all over the country, all over the world, training. So, and from there, I got that recipe, so to speak.
Right. And
now I branched off on my own.
Well, we're going to talk about that, but I want you to talk a little bit about the athletes from this 757 area. we have such great athletes, and I'm talking not just basketball, football, baseball, you name it.
Yep.
And Elton Brown says, it's in the water. I'm going to bottle the water.
Yeah, it must be. I don't know. I think it's just the guys that came before us really set the table.
Okay.
I mean, the Alonzo Mourners, the J.R. Reeds, and as far as Hampton is concerned, the Kevin Swans, my oldest brother, Gannon, Steve Artis, those guys really set the table on what it is to compete. Even Coach Brower, Coach Conrad,
Well, and that's somebody else. You got to have great athletes, but you got to have coaches that can bring this out of the kid.
Yes, that can put them in the right spots.
Right.
That can show them what to expect, show them how to get better.
And show them how to be successful.
I remember Damon's dad, Coach Baycoat, used to work us out in groups of 20. He wasn't charging anything, on a Saturday. Tony Rutland, Damon Baycoat, Allen Iverson.
Right.
I would be in there. Everybody would come. David Macklin. Everybody would come, and I think that was instrumental in showing us, how to work.
Talk a little bit about the connection of the 757 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say the connection, because your brother is a real good example.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a Holy Cross job. He gets a call from Chris Slade. He had never met Chris Slade, but he's from this area, and he gives him tickets to go to the baseball game.
Right.
Here, you wouldn't have called up anybody else but Gannon.
Right.
And see, Gannon, because this is a connection that you guys got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's we all were taught, like I said, with those older guys, you respect your elders, but you look out for home as well. I think that's just what it is. Sort of an honor code. We try to pull up everybody from the area, and we really take a lot of pride, especially in the Peninsula District, but Tidewater in general. I feel like we're just a family.
Well, and you can see it because people who have from this area and may have graduated years before, years after, there's still a connection.
Right, there is.
So, and that's great. So we're going to kind of wrap this thing up, but I want to talk a little bit before we do about your business, because you're going to start your own business.
Right.
Gannon kind of give you a hand, and you said, okay, this is what you need to do, and you're going to be called Hoops and Life.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
I'm just basically starting my own training business where I do individual or group training or team training. I've been going all over the place pretty much, training different groups.
Right.
And I'm actually here. I'm going to train a few while I'm here.
Talk a little bit about some of those guys that you're going to train.
Well, the Kecoughtan guys. I have a kid.
Rodney Bullock.
Yeah, there's another kid that's top 80. Big kid.
Batten. He's the one that's over Old Dominion right now.
Okay. And
I think
kid from Bethel.
Who was it?
Rasheen, yes.
Rasheen Brown.
Right. Exactly. I don't know their name.
Right. But these are kids that you're going to be able to help, and then somewhere down the line, it may be years from now, but they've got a connection.
Right. And I'm not just going to help them with their game. I'm going to show them how to work. It's just like Gannon taught me, like they're going to go through something physically and mentally. But hopefully they can take that stuff and it'll affect their lives as well.
All right, we'll wrap this thing up. I want you to talk about growing up with your brothers and what they taught you, and your dad, because your dad is very instrumental. I got to run into your dad when I was over at Bethel High School when he was over there coaching with Coach Kozlowski, and I got to meet him.
Right.
And then got to know him.
Right.
And then I got to see the three boys just excel.
Yep.
But you being the youngest, so the pressure's on you.
Everybody says that. Everybody says there's a lot of pressure. Maybe it was.
But you never felt it?
I didn't. I can't remember feeling it. It was just normal to me. That's all I saw coming up. I was at football practice with my dad, playing with my brothers. And then eventually I was at my brother's practices all day. I always had a ball in my hand. I was always competing with them in our backyard. So it was normal, so to speak. But from outside looking in, it might look like I was extremely pressured. No, I really wanted it. I wanted to play basketball. I played baseball and football, but that was basketball.
Basketball was your love.
Yeah, my dad said, you're not going back on that football field.
Well, you weren't big like Morocco. Morocco was a big guy.
Yeah.
So, talk about the last thing we want to talk about is the life lessons that you're teaching these youngsters when you get them in your camp?
And
or not your camp, but when
right.
you're working
when
with
I
them.
work with them, all I can draw from are my experiences. So I made some bad decisions coming up, just like everybody else, and I've already seen this movie that they're going through, getting recruited,
right.
pressures from peer pressure or whatever it may be,
right.
Or not working on my game as much as I should have. So I just try to tell them what's around door number 3, door number 4, and all of that, and at the same time, destroy them physically to show them, because that's what they're going to get at the college level,
right.
and at the pro level. It's a job. It's about business. So you have to take care of yourself. You have to make some decisions that other normal kids can't make. At that, they might not be apt to make that decision, but you're almost like you have a job. I know you're 17, I know you're 16, but you have a full-time job if you don't want to pay to go to school.
Right.
So that's just all I share. Tell them I did this, so you might not want to do that. Just like my father did, just like my brothers did. At the end of the day, it's their decision.
Right.
But I just try to give them as much information as I can on what I lived. And then the flip side, the good decisions I made. Calling Gannon and going driving 9 hours,
right.
taking a chance on what I believed in.
Right, and taking a chance on something you didn't know was going to.
I didn't know it was going to work out, but I loved it and I had faith. I knew what I wanted to do. Gannon has a quote. He says, like, 2 best days of your life are the day you're born and the day you figure out what you're going to do. And he was not lying. That is right on point.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Henson.
Thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Marseilles Brown. I'm your host, Bob Henson. Until next time.
This is Marseilles Brown, former Kecoughtan basketball player, and you're watching LSC, all sports, all the time.